Ooh, this does work. This is on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, everybody. We're happy to have you for series number 3 for STEM Workforce Development. And you're in for a great talk today. We're really glad that you started your morning with us. I think one thing that we ask is that you just turn on your imagination cap today in what could be. We're sort of stuck in what is today, but the discussion today is what can be and what will be if we all start to work together. So I'm Beth McNeil, Senior Director at the Cincinnati Regional Chamber. And for our members in the room, thank you for your membership. For those that are members, we'd love to talk to you if you're interested in membership. But we're very happy to partner with Justin. Third year for this series. We've evolved, we've grown, membership. Thank you, Justin, for curating this series and bringing rock star panels every time we have this talk. The folks that are in front of you are not only great at what they do, but they're committed, passionate, so I'd like to introduce our moderator for the day. If you know her or have not met her, you need to make sure you check it out. She is the GOAT of STEM. I know, that's a good way to start, right? But it is the honest truth. Whitney is a friend, but also a pioneer. So Dr. Whitney Gaskins is the founder of the Gaskins Foundation and the Associate Dean of Professional Development and Community Impact in the University of Cincinnati College of Engineering and Applied Science, the only African American female currently teaching in the Faculty of College of Engineering. And I want to emphasize on only because some people say, oh, only, that's amazing. No, that's a tough spot to be in. But Whitney holds her head high. She does the work being the only. She is committed to not remain the only. She builds friendships for others that follow behind her. She earned her Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Engineering, her Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Engineering, her Master's in Business Administration and Quantitative Analysis, and her Doctorate of Philosophy in Biomedical Engineering. She currently is the National President of the National Association of Multicultural Engineering Program Advocates, which represents more than 35 student support offices in the universities across the country. She has been recognized as the Janice A. Lumpkin Educator of the Year Golden Torch Award by the National Society of Black Engineers and has been recognized as the 2021 YWCA Career Women of Achievement. Dr. Whitney Gaskins. Good morning. Oh, so we haven't woken up yet. Good morning. So everyone I tell this to, I grew up in a Baptist church, and so calling and shouting is part of who I am, and so I don't hear you gotta wake up. You gotta wake up again. I'm so thankful that you guys have decided to join us for this important conversation. I want to encourage you all to think about what are the presidencies that are on your mind. The time is now. overall leadership, strategic direction, and vision for Girl Scouts of Western Ohio, serving over 40,000 members across Western Ohio and Southeastern Indiana. Amy's passionate to preparing every girl to live her best life, discover her unique purpose, and develop leadership skills that impact her community. Prior to joining the Girl Scouts of Western Ohio in December, she was the chief operating officer. Wow, thank you. Council serving a 26 county area in Southeast Texas. While there, Amy managed membership, programming, customer service, property management, and more. She excels in developing and executing long-range strategic plans, problem solving, and building and maintaining relationships. She is highly regarded across the Girl Scout movement and participates in many national leadership roles. She is a lifetime member of the Girl Scouts, a member of the Juliette Gordon Low Society, and a National Council delegate. Can we please give a warm welcome to Amy Sproul?
Good morning. I think I'm okay. I'll try to stay fairly centered if I can, but hopefully you can hear me okay. Good morning, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here, and I have to tell you, when Dr. Gaskins calls and asks, I always say yes, whatever it is, right? Because this is such a powerful partnership and opportunity to collaborate, and I'm just thrilled to be here this morning. As she said, my name is Amy Sproul. I am President and CEO of Girl Scouts of Western Ohio. Girl Scouts of Western Ohio serves 40,000 families from Cincinnati to Toledo in a 32-county footprint. We also serve 2 counties in Indiana within that, so down in Dearborn and Ohio counties, and we're thrilled to be a part of that. You know, as I think about what Whitney was sharing this morning, I can't double down enough on the requirement for us right now to navigate this inflection point that is happening in society differently. The imperative for us as a nonprofit community, as a public sector, as an education sector, and as a corporate sector, to think differently, in particular about what our youth need to be ready for tomorrow, because that's the space I live in every day. You know, I'm really passionate about, as she said, making sure that, in particular, girls are ready, that they are life ready when they graduate from high school for the next phase of their life, to be powerful contributors to this community that we live in, and to make sure that they have the skills they need, both the soft skills and the education that they need to do that really well. So at Girl Scouts of Western Ohio, we are focused on, we were just visiting this morning about the safety net that is imperative for our youth today. And what that means is it's not fishing lines. We are not individual organizations trying to do one thing for youth. We have to be a net, which means collaboration is so critical, and coming together as a community to solve problems innovatively is really critical, and just thinking differently about who fills what space in our youth's lives and how do we make sure that they have the supportive resources they need to thrive today and tomorrow. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate it.
Our next panelist is with Learning Through Art, Kelly Asbury. Kelly Jo? Okay, I was like, you tell me. So Kelly Jo is an educator, collaborator, and artist. She has sought and cultivated equitable, interdisciplinary connections with post-secondary and primary education for much of her career. Kelly has led Learning Through Art to the world stage as presenters for the World Literacy Summit at the University of Oxford, and applied her years of experience in education to help earn Learning Through Art Incorporated a STEMI at the Organization of the Year. The STEMI is an award show that we have here in Cincinnati to recognize the talent. She also appears as Crafty Miss Kelly for the regional Emmy Award-winning Books Alive for Kids streaming production. Kelly attended the University of Cincinnati and received an MFA in painting from the School of That. She obtained a BFA in the studio arts within painting and drawing with a minor in theater alongside Northern Kentucky University. Kelly's work has been awarded and shown nationally as well as. Please welcome Kelly.
will. Again, I'm Kelly Jo Asbury. I work at Learning Through Art alongside the magnificent Miss Kathy Wade. This coming October, I will have worked alongside her for 5 years at where we do programming in the sectors of education and advocacy. Our premier program is Books Alive for Kids, which Dr. Gaskins was just speaking of. That is our literacy program that is very much so steeped in the interdisciplinary arts. So we are taking books from around the globe, we curate multiple libraries, and we bring them to life through sight, sound, and touch. So we are doing spatial and kinesthetic learning, and then we're taking immersive experiences and bringing those to the classrooms and taking students beyond the classroom into those different worlds throughout the metropolitan area to connect books to the institutions and organizations within our city. To briefly also mention what we just returned from the World Literacy Summit in the UK at Oxford University. We were thrilled to have been invited to present. We built a paper around the work that we do, and that work we entitled through the submission, Building Equitable Pathways to Literacy Through the Arts. And in everything that we do, it's built upon our new definition of the 3 R's in education. And that premise is very cyclical and consistently perpetuating in everything. STEAM with you today. Thank you.
And our next panelist is Jordan Bankston. Forever Kings Incorporated was founded in August of 2019 by Jordan Bankston, also known as JB. JB was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, and several inner city communities across the region. He was raised by his mother and his maternal great-grandmother. He accredits his strong value for spirituality, faith, and family to spending so much time around his great-grandmother as a child. JB has lived his life trusting God to do the impossible. Forever Kings is just a small piece of the evidence of that. Growing up with little to no visibility of positive male influences caused JB to struggle with becoming a man, having clarity with who he was, and not truly knowing how to navigate through life. As a preteen, teen, and even a young adult, JB spent a lot of time hurt, angry, broken, living in unforgivingness, and trying to find himself until one day he decided that enough was enough and it was time to get healed. Bankston often says that it is our greatest pain that we find our greatest purpose. JB knew that he was called to create a place for young men to heal and learn to become strong men. That space is what we now call Forever Kings. Please welcome JB or Jordan Bankston to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jordan Bankston, and I'm so honored to be with you today. As Dr. Gaskins mentioned, I have the pleasure of being the founder, president, and CEO of a dynamic organization, Forever Kings, where we serve young men from 3rd grade to 22 years old with a focus on giving them an equitable opportunity to achieve personal and professional success. And we are so, how y'all doing? We are so honored to be partnered with the Gaskins Foundation to ensure that Black and brown children have a fair chance in engineering and STEM and technology.
Now, I said in the beginning, each panelist was invited with intentionality, excuse me. And I just want to make sure that you get to hear from them first before I add any of my comments to what they do and why. And so my first question to each panelist, because we're talking about STEM workforce development. What does your organization do to help when we talk about STEM workforce development?
What we constantly do at Learning Through Art is to, again, build those relationships. So opportunities to work with organizations like the Gaskins Foundation and to reach out to partners that we are actively involved with in the community to not only celebrate what they do, but to connect them to the projects that we are actually fulfilling. So for example, the books that we curate are from around the world. We want to make sure that every child has an opportunity to see themselves within the books that we curate. And in so doing, we are building relationships with authors from around the world. So they're speaking truth to power about those lived experiences so those children can connect to those stories. And then when we bring these initiatives and these projects to life within Cincinnati, we are looking to various partners consistently to, again, not only celebrate, but to invite into the process. So for example, we recently did programming at a school in Dayton, Ohio. It featured the book by Misty Copeland, Firebird. We brought David Choate and the Revolution Dance Theater from right here in Cincinnati with us to have representation to see this is a Black ballet theater that is in residency at the Aronoff, the first in Cincinnati to do so, and to talk to you more about this story and what Misty has gone through to be able to do what she is doing in a world where she didn't see anyone who looked like herself. And again, always building those relationships and having relevancy to the work that we do so that there's an opportunity to apply that cultural knowledge within the educational system and to actually apply that to what you do beyond the classroom.
Well, that was a good response. I would say for us, when we think about probably starting with technology, we are living in this digital age, and the reality is that young people are faster than us. They are smarter than us. They're more innovative than us. And that's okay. So everybody just slowly exhale, ready? Because they still need guidance, they still need taming, they still need us, and there's such a great opportunity for cross-generational integration to happen, but we have to not be afraid of them, and we have to teach them to not be afraid of us. So for us, it's how do we uplift our young men to teach us about technology? I want them to tell me every AI trick that there is that is going to make my life easier, right? But it makes them feel empowered, it makes them feel seen, it makes them feel like positive contributors. When we move into engineering, we know that minorities are underrepresented in the space. So how do we show our young men of what is possible being an engineer? How do we expose them? One of the great things we got to do this year was send a busload, a couple, probably 15, 16 young men to the National Engineers Summit. So how do I send kids to Chicago and get them to see what is possible, right? That these possibilities are even, that they even exist, because a lot of the times they have no idea that they even exist. And then when we think about the future, whether we want to embrace it or not, STEM, STEAM, whichever way you want to put it, is our future, right? So as an organization, we are very intentional about how we lean into that versus leaning away from that, and how we help raise up the next leaders in the industry.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at Girl Scouts of Western Ohio and at Girl Scouts nationally, I would say we have been working in the workforce development and specifically STEM space around workforce development for over 20 years. I always like to share with folks, we are probably, in some ways, your grandmother's Girl Scouts, but in other ways, a really different Girl Scouting experience for girls. We offer, many of you will be familiar with a Girl Scout who's wearing her sash or vest, and it has lots of badges on it that demonstrate the things that she's learned through her experience. And today we offer over 120 STEM badges for girls. This has been a major transformation to our national program portfolio that's been very focused on what are the specific 21st century skills that our girls need to be prepared for their future. So it ranges from cybersecurity to automotive engineering to think like a citizen scientist, think like a programmer, think like an engineer, math and nature, you name it, right? So I could go on and on, but they're kind of escaping me at this very moment. But what's been important about that is working with industries on the front line of where STEM is taking us and preparing badges that are age appropriate for kindergartners all the way to 12th grade girls to see how STEM comes to life. And we partner with that with the really important leadership and soft skill development that is required to create STEM leaders of the future who know how to think about improving their community and ensuring that our STEM developments are safe and ensuring that everyone is represented in the way technologies are developed and implemented to benefit all sectors of society, right? So that no one is left out. And so these are some of the critical thinking skills that we are helping girls develop, some of the community problem solving skills we're helping girls develop, and the exposure that we're ensuring that girls get to women in these fields and to how these fields make a difference in the world and show up in their everyday life, which is one of the critical pieces for STEM education. Learning it from a book, and that's what you all were sharing too, learning it from a book is one thing, but seeing how it shows up in life and in the everyday spaces they live is really critical. So thank you.
Thank you. So now I'm going to add my spin, and I'm going to ask the panelists to react to this. And if you have questions, please feel free to raise your hand. So I'm going to start with Jordan just because he's the closest one to me. A lot of people are like, Forever Kings isn't a STEM organization, but it is an organization to help Black boys, in particular, in this time. Why is that important to our STEM workforce? I have never lived through this. I feel like I'm living my grandparents' America, where there's such an attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm challenged every day about, well, what is the opposite of that then? If DEI, as it is now, is considered to be the bad thing, are we championing uniformity, inequity, and exclusion? And I feel like that actually is what we currently have. We need organizations like Forever Kings because I don't know if you guys have felt this pressure of what it feels to be oppressed. The anger that you have to deal with to navigate the world when people are trying to tell you you can't be more than. His organization fills in that gap to help those boys realize you can be whatever it is that you dream of. Let me help you heal. Let me help you deal with this rage. Because every day for someone to look at you and think that you're undeserving is a horrible feeling. I don't wish that on anybody. And I think that Jordan's group, Forever Kings, has been an amazing partner of the Gaskins Foundation by just allowing us to help share what possibility could be. He mentioned about the National Society of Black Engineers, going to that annual conference, getting to see 10,000 Black students who are studying engineering is huge. The theme across all of our panelists, I didn't ask them to talk about this, was representation. And we need it now more than ever, because if people can't see it, if it's not spoken into their dreams, they're not going to be able to achieve it, not because they're not capable. It's not a lack of talent, it's a lack of exposure. And he's helping provide that exposure to a demographic that is under attack in multiple fronts, not just in education, but in the culture. I don't know, Jordan, if you want to respond to that.
Sure. I'll start with a story, if that's okay. I used to work in Winton Hills, and if you don't know, Winton Hills is a subsidized housing community. So the students go to school. The families that live in Winton Hills, they don't leave Winton Hills, right? They go to the grocery store at the bottom of the hill. The students, all of the children go to the same school. They all come to the rec center. It is very much once you're in, you don't come out. So that was very different for me. So I'm like, well, I'm talking about giving away Burger King gift cards, just using that as an example. And they're like, well, what's that? And I'm like, huh? You've never been to Burger King? You've never been to Chipotle? You don't know what Kings Island is? You have never seen life outside of this hill, outside of Winnesty Avenue and the Kroger's on Kennard, right? So that's a problem Because how could you ever imagine what life can be outside of this if you've never stepped foot outside of it, right? So for us, we allow our members to self-determine. We don't say that college is the way, career is the way. There is no way. It is whatever works best for you, and we believe our role is to help young men find what God has put inside of them and push them into that versus telling them this is the way, this is the how, this is how you do it, right? And that starts with representation. But I'll say, as it pertains to DE&I, there's no way for us as an organization that we can say that we're going to back down from equity. Because the definition of equity is that everybody gets what they need based on where they are. So if a young man wants to be an engineer, I am going to put every resource that we have available into ensuring that he can become an engineer. That's equity. That's not saying that I'm going to take anything from anybody. That's not saying any of that. That's saying that I want to make sure that you who are starting at the door can still reach the stage. That the young man who lives in Wind Terrace, who has never in his life been to Chipotle, knows how to show up when it's time to go to that corporate dinner, right? I'm a grassroots leader, and I'll be honest, y'all, I didn't grow up around affluence. So I'm at these dinners, and I'm like, well, which fork do I pick up? Y'all can laugh because it's funny, because I didn't know, right? So now I have a responsibility, if you will, to make sure that when we graduate our young men, that they have at least had an opportunity. Now, if you don't do anything with it, that's a whole different conversation. But we want to make sure that they have an equitable chance, that we gave you exposure to everything that you needed to be successful.
Thank you. Just to add some data for those who are like, well, what are the numbers? What does it look like? I can only give you for the engineering field. You guys can guess why. Heavily into engineering. We are less than 5% Black when we think about engineering workforce. His organization is necessary. If you want to know, if you're still on the verge of like, well, I'm not really sold on the DEI portion, I don't understand. All of the best innovations in the world have been invented by diverse teams. It is necessary for our country and our culture, if we want to move things together and forward, to have diverse representation. I'm going to switch a little because I'm going to have Kelly respond to this thread. People always ask, well, why do you guys partner with Learning Through Art? What does art have to do with STEM? I can tell you the interconnectedness of the world doesn't go away just because we decided to teach classes in an industrial model. Nowhere do you work do you say, oh, I'm going to just do the math part now, and then I guess I'll do the business part later, and then no one operates that way. We need to have the interconnectedness of the world, and so moving from STEM to STEAM for children is important because they take things very literal. So we have to help make those connections for them. The bigger part of that for me is that I can't develop the STEM workforce if kids don't know how to read. It's deeper than just the connection of art. It is deeper than, the interconnectedness, which I love. But we have a literacy problem in the country along with the numeracy problem. But they can't become numerate if they're illiterate. I need programs that are going to help children, one, learn how to read, but also see themselves in what they read so they like to read, so that they can continue to read. So when it's my turn, I can say, now we can read this problem together and teach you how to solve it. But you have to be able to read it first. Would you like to respond?
I would love to respond, Dr. Gaskins, thank you. So yes, the parallels between STEAM and STEM education and literacy are just innumerable. For example, I'm going to jump around because so many qualities are bouncing around in my mind right now. Returning from that World Literacy Summit, just to give you a quick perspective, of the entire global population, especially referring to adults, of the 740 million people who are illiterate, over 2/3 of those are women. So things to chew on. In Cincinnati, less than 40% of our students are at a proficient level of literacy. The funding and the obstacles that our teachers and administrators face within public education already just overwhelming, and then topped on top of what we're dealing with an absurd administration, is even more daunting. So to answer the question you asked directly, Dr. Gaskins, but also to refer back to what Jordan was referring to as well. We have sat through many workshops, calls virtually recently, and attended conferences to where we are being spoken to about what's happening right now in a very clinical manner of how to navigate. And it is absolutely infuriating, because I can tell you right now, we are not a damn bit interested in rebranding what we do or changing the language, because again, as a literacy organization, and time in our history, once again, to where words have become loaded, and now saying the terms equity, diversity, inclusion are now under fire. We will not be doing that. We will not be rebranding. We will be leaning in, and we will be continuing the work. So again, to address these issues, to make these connections so that children can see that, yes, I can, and this is how. Having mentors be a part, bringing in representatives from the community so that you can see that I can do this. This is somebody that is actually already doing this. And also getting out of the classroom so that it has that real life application to where it's not just, oh, this is a task to fulfill, but this is how it could really take place. Environments like this, and the stimulating Saturdays, and being held within the Cincinnati Museum Center, and seeing that application happen in real time, or the digital futures within the Innovation Hub. Those are the kinds of connections that we're constantly, those relationships that we want to foster, and those opportunities that we want to provide, and we'll continue to do so.
Thank you. So the third thread, the Girl Scouts. I feel like as we talked about the representation of just Black representation in STEM, it is important for me to call out what the representation for women in the STEM workforce looks like as well. We have not reached over 30% ever. I think at the highest, we might have been around 27, but because of COVID, our forced social experiment, we still live in a culture, forced social experiment. We live in a culture where we still subscribe to gender roles. What does that mean? When schools shut down and caregiving needed to be had for not just children, but for the elderly, who do you think said, I'm going to step out of the workforce? Women. Then when we talk about, well, we were already not even 30%, but make up 50% of the population, people are exiting. How are we going to get people excited to go back into STEM? And how do we get girls excited to go into STEM? You will get a deep dive if you stay for that session at 10 o'clock today with the Girl Scouts in particular. But I have to highlight the fact that she said there were 120 badges for girls to go into STEM. The daunting thing for me is because I get to work in the full, from cradle to career for STEM education. We lose girls as early as 3rd grade. And even the girls that we get through, even through undergrad, choose to step out of the STEM workforce to choose other careers. We have a problem. We have a problem because I'm telling you now, women are amazing. And without our voices being heard, we're losing something in our culture and our society.
Thank you, Whitney. It's so important. And I appreciate the fact that you're raising this idea of STEM confidence, STEM identity, girls having the mindset that the stereotypes of what a scientist is are simply historic reality. They are not their potential. And it's something that we're incredibly focused on because, like JP was sharing, we believe that every girl has the opportunity to thrive and fulfill her highest potential. And that could look like a lot of different things for girls as they prepare to take their place in community as adults. But what we're seeing is, yes, we're continuing to work our way against that disparity in the numbers, but we're nowhere near parity. So what happens in a girl's world is at the age of 5, as she enters school, she thinks everyone has the potential to aspire to be whatever they choose, right? She has this idea, if you ask her, or boys, either one, to draw what does a scientist look like, they're fairly equally likely to draw a man or a woman or both doing scientific activities. And by 3rd grade, it shifts. And girls no longer see themselves in that picture. And so what's happening, because her competency doesn't shift, girls still perform at very high levels in the STEM fields when we think about primary education, and that continues throughout education. There isn't a competency gap, there's an identity gap that's happening, and there's a cultural persuasion that is encouraging girls and boys both to begin to identify that scientists are male fields. We see high representation of women in what are historically more nurturing and caregiving fields in the biological sciences. That is the space where women have achieved parity or slightly above parity in workforce balance. When we think about nurses and doctors and those who are doing kind of the life sciences, veterinarians, those types of fields. When we look at the sciences that are really carrying us into this 21st century of innovation, the fields of technology and engineering and mechanical engineering and kind of more the hard sciences, that we are still far from parity. And even though girls, like you said, and women are entering university at a higher rate, are represented in parity in undergraduate degrees, and are pursuing STEM fields at an even higher rate, there still appear to be barriers to getting them into the workforce in those fields in ways that they feel like they can make a contribution to make the world a better place. What we know about girls is that's what's important to them. They want to make an impact. They want to see, how does this make community better? And that's what we are focused on, is how do you use this skill to make the world around you a better place for everyone to live in? How do you use this skill to be innovative and bring something to your community that improves the lived experience of everyone in your community? And it's so critically important for us to continue to press into that. You know, we like Learning Through Art are not stepping away from our mission and our focus. We say every day that we at best achieve our mission when every girl, each and every one, feels like she belongs in Girl Scouts. And I will stay committed to that no matter what the tides around us are doing. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. So are there any questions in the audience before I move on? Again, if you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. We would love, yes. Shane, can you take the microphone to her?
Yeah. A lot of times I work at a college, so we're focused on technical education at Cincinnati State. And a lot of times those soft skills are so incredibly important to employers. So when we're on the end of providing that technical education, how are you all giving those students or those young people the soft skills that they need to be competitive when it comes to interviewing after they leave our care?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things, I'll answer your question two ways. One of the things that I did prior to Forever Kings is that I used to work in our citywide youth to work program. And what we learned very quickly was that it wasn't that young people could not get jobs. It was that they could not keep jobs because they didn't want to wear their uniform, right? And they didn't want to go on time. And they did not understand that when your boss tells you to do something, you do it, right? Those very, very, very simple things, what we call soft skills. So I think I think that we are at this place as a nation, right? This generational shift as a nation where what we really need is we need more people who understand what it's like to not have those skills, people who have developed those skills over time, people who have been graced, right? Who have maybe got into some chairs and some seats that they didn't deserve, didn't have the skills, didn't have the expertise, and had to figure it out to help those young people. Because what I think we all could agree about is that young people want to succeed. They want to do well, and we as adults have an obligation to help them succeed. And it can be frustrating, right? I own a frozen yogurt store ran by teenagers, and most days I want to bang my head on the wall. But I have an obligation to help those young people succeed. So I think that soft skills, I'll be very candid. I think that we are hard on young people because I also manage adults who don't have any. I deal with 40-year-olds who are more unprofessional than 15-year-olds, and I can tolerate that you don't know better, and we make excuses for the adult, life circumstances. Well, this 15-year-old was hungry this morning, had to drop their siblings off at two different schools, get back on another bus, and then they got to work. So if they were 5 minutes late, can you let that go? Because you're willing to let it go for this adult. Right? So how do we, again, shift our mindsets to be more understanding? We should absolutely hold them accountable. I am never going to say don't escape accountability, but I think that when we think about soft skills and tech skills and workforce, we have to give these kids some space to figure it out. They're living in this digital age. They're living in this age where you don't talk, where you do text, where you do email, where you do on the phone, right? So you cannot expect them to have good customer service skills. They don't know how. That's the reality. They don't know how. They do not have it in them. And I think that that's, from a workforce standpoint, what we're seeing is that everybody wanted these Gen Zers, like, oh, they're gonna make me millions. Well, if they can get out of bed.
Yeah.
Right? So our options are to correct the problem, right? To grow these young people, or to not have a workforce. Those are the two options at this point, right? So I don't even think that the question is do we? I think it's how do we, right? Because somebody has to work. Somebody has to work at Girl Scouts. Somebody has to work at Forever Kings, right? So we have to figure out how we mold young people and give them some grace to figure it out. Because me personally, this is just my belief, I don't know about you, but I would rather take someone who I can mold than for someone who is set in their ways, who knows. And most of the people who be knowing, y'all, they don't be knowing. You really don't know, right? So I hope that answers your question, but I think that we have to give them grace. I think that we have to give them practical tools. I think the other thing that we have to do is we have to call it and name it. Too often we as adults will sit and have conversations about a young person or about he's so this, she's so this, but did you talk to them? Right? And I think that if we had more conversations with our young people, if we begin to understand their lived experiences, there are young men whose stories, even in Forever Kings, blow me away. Like, you lived through that? Like, that is the reality that you go home to. I think that it would change your mindsets.
Thank you, Jordan. Do you mind if I would like to just expand upon this from the standpoint of, again, education, arts education, STEAM work, in that instead of always the focus being so much young people, so much pressure, achieve, and the beauty of an arts education, of STEAM and STEM education, is to build safe spaces to where you can fail. And so many conversations that we had, again, at the summit, having the space to take risks, having the space to realize, there is more than one way to solve this problem. There are a variety of ways to approach it. It's not about, okay, we're getting ready for testing. This is how you score a 4 when you make your response to this question. So much unbelievable
pressure, building anxiety. This is a whole other discussion for another day, but what we're putting the young people through. And I just find it incredibly invaluable, whether it's been my experiences with the really young students or in post-secondary education, to have that space to feel like you can take this chance. It may not work out, but those failures are also that's what's going to be what actually informs the work that you do and helps you to achieve what it is that you're going for in a lifelong way. Passions that can be unlocked for lifelong learning, far beyond that of a classroom. And so that is constantly what we're passionate about fueling.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question, and it's a great one. And I think when we think about youth development and how to help young people be prepared for the demands of the workforce, or to your point, whatever path they choose, all of our program portfolio of curriculum is designed, and we serve girls, so that's what I'm going to speak into, right? But is designed with a girls' learning style embedded within it, and is a blend of soft skills and hard skills in every program they do, because we recognize that it's both and. I constantly am talking with our supervisors at work about, just because you can do the technical components of the job, how you show up in doing that job is just as important, right? So it's both the how and the what. And what we have embedded in our curriculum is a couple of different pieces. First, it's how they learn. Girl-led, learning by doing, and cooperative learning. And when you think about what those three components of how girls are learning, it's soft skill embedded, right? So we are making sure, to your point, that girls are put in safe spaces to fail, and that they are given age-appropriate responsibility for their development and the development of their peers, with strong adult mentors supervising and guiding them through that process. So what does that look like? That looks like a 9 or a 10 or an 11-year-old girl teaching her troop what she's learned in cybersecurity. It looks like a group of girls working together to problem solve a robotic coding problem, and figure out how to explain and present that, right, to the judges in the robotics competition in a way that helps the judges see the creativity of every member of their team. It looks like being able to identify the strengths of everyone in the room, or navigate challenging conversations to get to the goal, and doing that with in a safe, supportive environment with adult mentors who are guiding it. And so it's core to how we approach education and learning. And I think it's something that's critical about the entire nonprofit, corporate, community collaborative around youth. We all have something to bring to that space. Education is one component of it, and the burdens that are on our education system are significant to get the technical teaching done. So how do we as a community surround our youth with the other components that they have to thrive? And that's part of how I would say we approach that work. So making sure that girls at a young age are given responsibility in a safe environment, and are able to be curious, and are able to try and fail, and are able to learn how to develop healthy relationships and navigate conflict, and all of those pieces. Make sure everyone is represented in what comes out of their group work together. So
Thank you for that. There are a lot of threads in there. I'm going to invite everyone to rethink what they consider professionalism. And I want you to ask yourself, why do you think that? And if you've never challenged that notion of what is professional, you might actually be feeding into the problem of why you can't get the talent that you need. The students of today are not the same as, I'm not even the same person I was when I started working. Challenge that notion of professionalism. I get it, right? Well, I do need you to come to work on time. But I'm going to challenge this. Do you? What does me showing up at 9 o'clock versus 9:30 do for you? Is it time-oriented or task-oriented? Just think about it a little bit. If I'm late, how did that impact the deliverable. Did it? Probably not. Now, a meeting, that's different. But if your work is project-based, why do you care if I come in at 10? The project is done. Challenge what you're thinking as professional. Learn to innovate even your workforce. So when we talk about STEM workforce development, use those same skills when you're talking about the places where people are supposed to be working and thriving. What are you holding on to that doesn't actually serve a purpose? There was a long time I worked at a company that said you couldn't have, your hair had to be naturally colored, like a natural occurring hair color. What did my hair have to do with me crunching Excel sheets at my desk? Challenge the notion of what you're deeming as professionalism. And I tell you that because if I can't express myself, if I can't be me, you're not getting the best version of me. I think about Marvel. I am a nerd, love all of the things. And they have the character Mystique, who is blue, and she changes into a white woman with heterochromia and like blonde hair, right? Because she's like, well, I have to navigate the world this way. And Magneto, who I think is more of an anti-hero than a villain, is like, can you think about how much more powerful you would be if you weren't using some of your power to mask who you really were? That's what we're asking people to do when we don't embrace them for who they are. That doesn't mean you don't have standards, right? That's not what I'm talking about. But sometimes the things that we're holding on to that are hot buttons for you, you might need to let go. It's probably not really a hot button. It's just an old school structure that you got comfortable with that probably needed to be changed a long time ago. I also want to challenge. Yeah, go for it.
I'll speak to the black male perspective
Yes,
of
please.
that, since I am a black male. Just look.
Yeah, go for it.
We provide some of our alumni with internships, and we had a young man interning at a corporate company, and the feedback that I got about him. Now, I want to be very clear that we deploy the top of the top when we send them into corporate companies. And the feedback I got back about this young man was that he was aloof, and he was very uninterested and disengaged. And I said, that's interesting. And I did some more digging, asked some more questions, talked to the young man, and what it truly was that he just wasn't jumping up and down. And he wasn't coming in, hey, Jill, how you doing this morning? You want your coffee? Whitney, did you have your coffee this? Right? Because his personality is naturally a 5. Mm-hmm. He is just naturally a pretty chill guy. I think I've seen him in his whole life be upset 3 times, right? But what was perceived is that he was disengaged, right? Now, as someone who spends time disrupting spaces like that, right, and says challenging things in spaces, I'm aggressive. I'm aggressive, outspoken, all of these things, but when you're quiet, he's aloof. So what I think we have to think about is, what is the win for Black and brown students?
Yes.
When I conform to this, I'm going to be called this. When I conform this way, I'm going to be called that. So what do we really expect them to do?
Yes.
And how do we expect them to do it? And to comprehend that I have to completely, at 16, 17 years old, change completely who I am to thrive in this space, to have this opportunity. But then we say that we believe in belonging. Well, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Because if I belong as who I wake up as in the morning.
Yes.
Not the watered down version of myself that fits your narrative. So totally agree with that. I think that as we are teaching young people, it is one of the things that I toy with is dreads. A lot of our young men have locks.
Yeah.
I am never going to tell you to cut your locks.
Ever.
Not going to say it to you. Now, I do encourage them to put them in a neat style. We can have that conversation.
It's still to be kept. It's just hair.
Maybe.
It's hair.
It's just hair, though.
It's hair. Yeah.
It's just hair, it's just clothes, right? So I think that the conversation really goes so deep, because what is truly the win either way?
Thank you for that. You touched on something else that I want to segue into another part of this conversation, and it was about running from accountability. It's a hot topic, or a hot button for me. If you've ever been in a room and people are talking about somebody negatively, even if positively, you're just talking about people, but you've never said that thing to the person, you're running from accountability. I find that it to actually be disrespectful for you to not tell people what is going on and why they made you feel a certain way, because then you're taking away an opportunity for growth from them. If I have no idea what I'm doing that's getting on your nerves or below your expectations, but somebody else does, you thought it was appropriate to share with somebody else? Inappropriate behavior. Rethink how you run from accountability, because then I hear the chatter of like, oh, these Gen Zers. Well, did you tell the Gen Zer what your expectation was so that they could rise to the occasion? Most people wake up wanting to be excellent. They actually do want to be good at their jobs, which leads me to this part of, well, what does that mentorship look like? All of you have said industry, corporate relationships matter to our work. But if you're not showing up, if you're in corporate America right now and you're not showing up and giving back to the youth, modeling the behavior that you want to see, telling the mentees the feedback so that they can rise and grow, you're not helping the ecosystem. You're not supporting the charge. I'm shifting to that because how important is that mentorship for all of you?
Wow. I think mentorship is so important. The principle of lifting as you climb. And one of the things, honestly, transparency, in full transparency, Dr. Gaskins, that breaks my heart about my work is that it is one of the most impossible things in the world to get Black men to show up for Black boys.
Ooh.
To give 2 to 3 hours of your time to show up for our people. Often what I have found is that you have made a life for yourself and you making close to 7 figures. Let's just be real. We have Black men in very prominent, very influential, affluential positions, right? And what are you doing to make sure that the next young Black man has the opportunity? And what I promise. Okay, there we are. What I've learned is that we have a lot of gatekeepers.
Yes.
And not a lot of gate openers. That we have a lot of people who are sitting in their position and safeguarding their position, not advocating for anybody. Or you'll have your workshop, you'll have your conference, and you'll tell us stuff that GPT can sell us. Don't tell me how to make a pretty brain.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Don't tell me how to just make a pretty brain kit, right? Who did you go to, right, to get the dollars for your marketing, for your
Yes.
event, right? How do we really open the door for other people, right? And then how do we come alongside of them and say, hey, young man, don't wear that anymore?
We're gonna pass this mic because there are people on the live stream on YouTube that can't hear if we don't talk into the microphone, so.
Yes. Okay, there we go. Right. So it's coming alongside young people, right? And I'll use the word discipleship, right? I'm a Christian, and it's walking with them and saying, hey, you're going to, how you show up to the mayor's dinner is not the same way you show up to prom. Yeah. Right? We're going into a different space, right? What is the difference between a blue suit and a black suit? Who is taking the time to tell young men that? That when you're going to a job interview, you wear a blue suit and brown shoe, right? All of those things is I guess we just expect them to know it, but somebody had to tell you. So I see that we have such a great opportunity. If every corporate executive just mentored one young person, how could workforce be changed? Just one. Just one. 2 to 3 hours out of your month. You are not that busy. There is not that much busy in the world that you cannot show up to Saturday Hoops once a month.
Right.
For 2 hours. And a lot of the times organizations, I don't know about you all, but we do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yes. All you do have to really is show up.
All you really have to do is show up. I've already got the Gaskins Foundation coming. I've got dinner. I don't need you to do anything but show up and talk to a young man and tell him that he can be great.
Yes.
And it can be the most impossible task to get people to do that. But then on the other side, we'll say we don't have a workforce. Well, duh, we didn't create one.
Thank you, Jordan. Something that we constantly say at Learning Through Art is that we want to meet the community where you are. We don't have projects and initiatives and events and then expect, okay, this is what we're doing, come to us and enjoy. We want to take these ideas, these opportunities, into the communities throughout Cincinnati and to make sure that we're thinking about the barriers that obstruct these opportunities. So if it's always, oh, this is what we're doing, come to us, we're not considering transportation. We're not considering accessibility. And that is paramount to what we do. We want to make sure that if we're not at your community and your neighborhood, how are we going to get you to where we're doing this? How are we going to work with other partners to make sure that we can provide that transportation? How are we going to make sure that you have access to our curriculum? Well, we make sure that everything that we do, and it's located within 2 different libraries, pre-K through 3rd grade, 4th grade through 8th grade, it's free, ready to go. Download, print, take whatever you need, lesson plans already ready to go, take it and run with it. Resources and funding, all the grant writing that we do to make sure that we can offer what we do, because schools do not have the budgets to pay for this. My goodness. And now it's under fire to be even worse. Yes. So, constantly working within this direction to do so. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Amy, did you want to respond? And then we'll go right over here to the question.
I'll keep it real quick and then we'll come right back to you if that's okay. But the importance of mentoring and representation for youth is critical. And every sector needs to show up. We have amazing corporate partners who we're thrilled to work with. And like you said, we provide all the things, right? We'll help you show up in a way that is purely accessible to the youth, right? It's not something to be scared of. They want to hear your story. And when we think about youth have, kind of narrow sets of adults who are typically speaking into their life with narrower lived experience than they may need for success. And when mentors show up and add more angles to those prisms of what life experience can look like, they can see the full rainbow, right? And that's what's really critical for those mentors to step into that space, help youth see themselves from different perspectives, see what they were created to do, what their purpose in life could be, what their strengths and natural abilities are, and what can be grown and developed in them to be incredible contributors to society. That's not going to happen sitting in their space only with their friends or only with their neighbor or school environment. They need to see beyond that, right? And that means we have to go to them. We have to bring those mentors into those spaces where they are and help them see lots of different opportunity, right? One of the things that I love the Search Institute because they do a ton of research on mentoring. So if you're not familiar with their work, but what they say is youth used to be 5 adults in their world. It is now 8 adults in their world. 8 adults that they can go to if they have a question or a problem. And that could be a chance mentoring encounter in a one-day experience where you exchanged contact information. When that youth reaches back out to you, it is critical that you respond, because that is how they know they have adults in their world who care that they're successful. So I just wanted to touch on that for a minute. And you said it only takes 2 or 3 hours a month. I don't know about you, but my device tells me how much time I look at it every week. Every week, I get a report from my device. It's happy to tell me, right? How could I cut a couple of those hours and give them to a youth? That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Yes. We did have a question in the audience.
That prompted a question for me, and that is around timelines. You all are nonprofit organizations, right? I'm sure you all have received grant funding, right? And it usually comes with a timeline, right? The expected deliverables at this time. How can we really, and thank you to the Gaskin Foundation, because it seems like, and I'm learning more about your foundation, that you are invested in continual growth, continual progress, and that kind of erases that, timeline. Yes, you want results, I get it, but in an organization where funding is tied to timelines, What that creates is you have 2 years to turn all of these people around to get them to this point. What happens for 15 years? We have to now take 2 years to unwind, recreate, and reestablish individuals. And at that 2-year point, that person, that young person, is now saying, whew, I'm ready to go. I trust you. I believe you. I'm sold in. I'm bought in. I'm ready to move. Now the timeline stops. Now I have to stop the work. Now I've dropped a person who now has to figure out and re-navigate and all these things. And I'm not saying that nonprofits don't go after more funding to be able to do more work, but we're creating this cycle of timeline, because you can't tell me how long it takes for me to unwind from all of my traumas, past experience, mental health, to be prepared
To do this thing.
to do the next step. So how do you, as nonprofits, because we're dealing with the same thing now, we're like, okay, we've just got our footing. They are ready to move, we're ready to move, business is ready to move. Now the program goes away. Then what?
So, in the most respectful way, philanthropy is trash.
Yes.
Philanthropy needs a complete overhaul. When we think about community solutions, the reason why our communities are truly broken goes back to philanthropy. We have invested trillions with a T, not billions with a B, trillions and trillions of dollars to solve problems that have gotten worse. Why? Because $25,000 is not going to fix a deeply rooted issue. So I don't know about you, but I laugh at grants like that because I spend that at Sam's. I'm feeding 370 young men every month. All that $20,000 is going to do is help me go to Kroger. Right? So you have to grow to a space where you can challenge philanthropy and say, no, we need a deep multi-year commitment, and you need to understand, right? This is where trust-based philanthropy comes in, that there may not be an outcome. There may not be an outcome. So we had investments for our mental health work for 4 years. Only 2 of those years have an outcome. One of the years we had to, I said, on demos for curriculum. That's a process, right? And let's use P&G. If there's anybody who works at P&G, I'm sorry, we love Procter & Gamble. We're so grateful for you. They're great partners of ours. But P&G spends 5 years creating a new toothpaste. 5 years, and probably 3,000 people work on this one toothpaste rollout, where a nonprofit, the expectation is these major problems like, I don't know, hunger, solve it in 12 months with $20,000. Yes. It's impossible. Yes. It is impossible. And we don't want to pay for your staff.
Yeah, no overhead.
No overhead.
No overhead.
So no overhead. But P&G gets to go on staff retreat. They go to Africa, right, for the week to learn how to market this toothpaste. And I actually have a brand manager who sits on my board, and he was telling me about, now they have these headphones that they put on people, and they bring them in, you get paid to do it. I was like, I need that job. You get paid to come watch their commercials before they put them out. And the sound waves, I'm sure Dr. Gaskins, you know about this, measures what your emotions are feeling. Well, could you give me that?
Yeah.
Because that would solve all of my problems. If I could put some headphones on a young man and it could come back with a report that tells me why he just behaved that way, right? So philanthropy is deeply broken, and there are no rules in philanthropy. The IRS has 5 rules for funders. There's only 5. There's only 5 things that the IRS says. Everything else they have made up.
Yeah.
It's all made up. Grant questions, somebody made it up. The IRS didn't. The government didn't. So that is where in some of the climate, it's like on our side, we understand it because it's made up. So we have to shift this power dynamic, and I'll share, we just walked away from a grant opportunity from a major funder because I felt a power dynamic, and I will not subject my staff or my participants to that. Because you need me just as badly as I need you. Because what happens if GCF can't give to anybody? If everybody's like, you know what, forget this, we're done, then there's no GCF. Then there's no Interact for Health. Then there's no BI3. Then there's no, if there is nobody to give money to, we really hold the power. But we have been conditioned to believe that they do, and we have to shift that. So I would say challenge softly, challenge with grace, but challenge. Ask questions, say, hey, if this is the outcome that you want, here's what it takes. You cannot solve hunger with $30,000.
Yes. I just need to add, trust-based funding is where it is. So if you're in the philanthropy game, unrestricted, you are actually, and this is the challenge, I don't think you're in it because you care. You're in it so that way you can put a picture on your website to say that you're a good community partner. Because if you really wanted to make a difference, you wouldn't be restricting that organization and telling them how to do their job. See, that if they are the experts, you're funding the expert, let them work. Let them work. I also have to—
Can I add, Dr. Gaskins?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that infuriates me is that oftentimes I got out of poverty, right? We were poor growing up. My mother would tell the story differently, but that's okay. We were. You cannot then tell me, as someone who has never sniffed poverty, how you get out of poverty. So a lot of the times what's happening is as BIPOC leaders, we're saying this is the way out. This is how this has to happen. And they're saying, no, it's this way. It's like,
Yeah, you've not done that before.
you've not done that before, right? How do you even know? So that's where you have to be able to challenge with grace, but be able to say like, wait, that doesn't even that's not even true. And a lot of the times there's very good intention. There is very good intention, but if we are not willing to disrupt very good intention, we won't get very good impact.
There it is. Good intentions actually have been more harmful than anything else. The well-meaning actions without taking the community's voice is what actually causes harm. We can have a different session to talk about that, right? Like, good intentions can be very harmful. You need to be good. Be the person that you say you are. Be the good people that you think you are. We're over time, y'all. So I didn't know if anyone had questions, burning questions, because we're gonna go into our deep dive with the Girl Scouts. But before we do that, I just wanna say thank you to our panelists. If we can give them a warm reception. Fantastic people. So I'm going to say Forever Kings is helping Black boys. So if you're talking about STEM workforce development and you're passionate about, I really want to see more of them in the STEM workforce, I want to see them in the pathway, invest. Come have a conversation. Talk about what you can do to invest. If you are talking about literacy and you understand that, hey, kids really need this outlet of literacy and art, please, Learning Through Art is here. Invest. Get involved. And investment isn't just money, it's time. We talked about the need for mentors. We need your talents too. We need all of the above because we are chasing $20,000 and $25,000 sometimes. We need support. If it is talking about, I need to help young girls develop, not just in STEM, but to develop into womanhood, the Girl Scouts are here. Talk to them. And if you are about, hey, I really want to develop STEM talent, the Gaskins Foundation is here. We have programs, Saturday programs, we're in schools, we're after school. We even have workforce development programs for adults to upskill so you can enter into the tech workforce. We're here. Talk to us about how to partner. I'm gonna say this because we didn't talk about it, but I posted about it on LinkedIn. I'm in a time where I'm losing funding, not because of what I do is bad, because people are scared to double down on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Lost 4 federal grants, all of which were supporting STEM education and outreach. Over $1 million of money gone. If you want to know what you can do to help, invest. Help us. Help us so we can help you. Help us because it's what we should be doing in the community. We are communal people. We are not actually even designed to be by ourselves. We are designed to be in community with one another. So be in community. Help with the charge. Help with the lift. Give checks, give time, give support, champion, because we need it now more than ever. We're going to go ahead and transition to our deep dive. So about 10 minutes, we'll just take a quick break and then we'll come back and we'll do our deep dive. So thank you all for coming.
I no longer have the luxury to do that, right? Okay.
Let me get this. Okay.